Hello, everybody. It's me, Matt Charnay, Jewish Life Coordinator with Interfaith Outreach for the Religious Diversity and Pastoral Care Office. Welcome to VINterfaith, hosted by the DePaul Interfaith Scholars. And I have a lot of them here with me today and a couple of other extra folks here. Say hi, everybody. Yay.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Why don't we get started with the classic DePaul Interfaith style? Let's do a little bit of intro, names, pronouns, what faith tradition you are with, and I don't know, how are you feeling today? What's going on in your world? I know my screen is probably not the same as everyone else's, so let's just popcorn it. I'm going to throw it to Max, and then you throw it to somebody else. How are you, Max?
Great. Hi, I'm Max. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Jewish Interfaith Scholar. I've been at DePaul now for 4 years. This is my third year as an Interfaith Scholar. And I'm feeling pretty good today. It's a beautiful day. Feeling nice. All right, Muhammad, you go next.
Hi, everyone. Salam. My name is Muhammad. I am the Muslim Interfaith Scholar, and I use he, him pronouns. And I'm a sophomore. So there you go. I'm going to throw it over to Abdul Malik.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace and blessings be upon you. My name is Abdul Malik Ryan. I'm the Muslim chaplain here at DePaul, and happy to be with everyone. Just finished. I've been on Zoom all day with different things, but I'm excited for this. I will pass it to Saran.
Hi, everyone. I'm Saran. I'm the Catholic Interfaith Scholar. I use he, him pronouns. This is my second year at DePaul as well. And yeah, it's a beautiful day in Chicago, and I'm excited. I'll pass it to Jackie.
Hey everyone, I'm Jackie. I'm a junior, and it's also my third year as an Interfaith Scholar. I'm also a non-denominational Christian, and I'm feeling good today, so I guess I'm going to pass it over to Diane now.
Thanks, Jackie. Hi, I'm Diane Dardone. I'm the Director of Religious Diversity and Pastoral Care at DePaul, and it's a joy to be with you all. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a mainline Protestant, Lutheran in particular, and I'm doing really great today and very, very thankful for the efforts of Matt and Saran, especially as they brought this to us today. So welcome, everyone, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, everyone. So the Interfaith Scholars, a group of amazing students at DePaul from different faith backgrounds that come together weekly for discussion groups, to create awesome programs such as these, and to do lots more stuff. We were tapped with being a part of ViniFest this year, and one of the things we were asked was, how do we translate Vincentianism and the love for Vinny here at DePaul in an interfaith lens? And we thought, what are the best things to do? But why don't we choose characters from our own faith traditions that represent and symbolize Vincentian values? So we've actually created an amazing little video for you. We're going to play the video first. Now, I think we'll probably kind of hear some of the same information as far as names and pronouns and those things, but then we'll dive into the actual characters that the Interfaith Scholars chose. And if you're watching us live, you are more than welcome to please chat questions or ask any follow-ups. Throw it in the chat, and we will bring it over live. And then after the video, we'll have a little Q&A and be able to discuss. All right, bear with me while I get this video started. Give me just a second here, and I will get it ready to go. One moment. All right. And wait. Hold on. Share. Shalom, Lashana Tova, Happy New Year, everyone. I am Matt Charnay, the Jewish Life Coordinator here in the Religious Diversity and Pastoral Care Office, part of the Division in Mission and Ministry here at DePaul. I use he, him pronouns, and I identify as a Reformed Jew. I had a hard time thinking of one example of a Vincentian Jewish character through the lens of Judaism, but I landed on a famous rabbi that you might know, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Heschel has been around, quoted my entire life, held up and revered as a great modern philosopher and thinker in Jewish thought. And he's one of the first people that popped in my mind when I thought of Vincentian characters. He famously marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, and after reflecting on that experience, Rabbi Heschel said, "I felt like my feet were praying." And I've always thought that's such an amazing quote. There's so many different ways to connect with spirituality and with meaning in your life, not just sitting in a sanctuary and holding a prayer book and saying the same prayers that you've said over and over. And for some, that is an amazing way to connect. But for others, using the motivation that's inside you and answering that Vincentian question, what must be done to motivate you, to move you? When your hands are working for the good of someone else, you are praying with your hands. When you are marching down the street for justice and for change, you are praying with your feet. When you use your voice loud to enact change that you know is right, you are praying with that voice. I just love that idea that there's so many different ways to pray and different ways to connect. And I see Heschel as an amazing example of Vincentianism and connecting with those and helping those in need and helping those, giving voice to the voiceless and dignity for all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Farrag. I'm a sophomore. I am the Muslim interfaith scholar here at DePaul, and I'm a philosophy major. The figure that I picked was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, may God be pleased with him, the best friend of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was a man who embodied the Vincentian value of zeal, for example, in his willingness to do good in every facet of his life any way he could. He was also a man who was determined to be sincere to his core in all of his actions and to act and perform good deeds for the sake of goodness and for the sake of God. For example, he was known for freeing slaves. Anytime he heard about a slave who was being tortured or oppressed, he automatically went out of his way to free them. And he went out of his way to bring all these slaves out of their plight. This was also a man who embodied personalism, for example, in his willingness to work with average people, normal everyday people, and not tell people about it, for example. And he was sincere in all his actions. And we can see this in the story of him helping this group of old women milk their goats every day. And he would help them do this every day. And then when he became the Khalifa, the leader of the Muslim world, he continued to do it every day. And when he was asked, why do you keep doing this? Don't you think you're above this now? He said, I never want it to be said that I or a Khalifa ever performed an action that was good and then stopped doing it simply because of power. This was also a man who, when Umar, the companion of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, woke up one day and said, I want to compete with him. The Prophet, he gave charity, and the Prophet asked him, how much have you left for your family? And he said, I've left half my wealth. Abu Bakr came not knowing what was going on, and he said, he was asked, how much have you left for your family? And he said, I have left Allah and his messenger. So we see the embodiment of zeal, of humility in his willingness to hide his good deeds, but be adamant in performing every one of them. This humility, the zeal, the mortification, the willingness to sacrifice his wealth for the sake of goodness and for the sake of God. And for these reasons, I think he embodies Vincentian values perfectly.
Hello, my name is Emily Umeda. I use she, her pronouns. I'm majoring in health sciences, and I'm the Buddhist interfaith scholar at DePaul. Today, I will be sharing a little bit about someone in my life and in my faith tradition who I believe embodies Vincentian values. His name is Rinpoche Oshta, and he was the reverend at my temple for 32 years, and he retired in 2016. When I was growing up, going to temple every Sunday, he was the one standing behind the podium and reciting a sermon about how we can incorporate Buddhist values into our lives and how we can improve our interactions with others so that we can make small changes that lead us to change the world as a whole. In my one-on-one interactions with him, he'd always tell me about his life experiences and how they've shaped him into the person he is today, and he teaches me how to do the same with my life. He always remembers my name, he always remembers little details about me, and he does this the same way with everyone. In this way, I believe that he embodies Vincentian personalism, because Vincentian personalism is where you know everyone on a deep level, you treat everyone as an individual, and a dignified person in society. He loves everyone equally, and he shows that by remembering their name and remembering little details about them that most people don't know. And this makes us feel important to him, so it makes us feel very connected to the teachings of the Buddha and to him and to the community, as we call the Sangha. In another light, he also embodies the commitment to community, and he commits to building a stronger community who are all loving each other and loving the teachings that we learn. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jacqueline. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a non-denominational Christian and an interfaith scholar at DePaul, and I'm also an economics major. The first person that comes to mind when I think of who in my faith tradition embodies Vincentian values would have to be one of the youth group leaders that I had in high school. His name is Andrew Graham. And the reason I say this is because even though he embodies a number of different Vincentian values, I think the biggest one that I saw in him was his integrity. I think that he was very honest and very open, and it was this value that made it very easy to connect with him and also to learn from him. I think that throughout my entire spiritual journey, that was the part when I did a lot of growth. And I would say, learning a lot from him really helped set up the foundations of my faith. And I know that this could be said the same for other members of my youth group. They always described a similar experience being in his presence and saying that like they really valued his ability to be very open and honest, and and that was what really made him such an important person in each of our faith journeys. So
hi, my name is Saran Kernan. I'm the Catholic Interfaith Scholar here at DePaul. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a psychology major. So I'm from Thailand and India, and I want to talk about someone from my culture who embodies Vincentian values. And that would be from Thailand, and that would be one of the most important figures in Thai history. It's our late king, King Bhumibol. And he recently passed away a couple years ago, and his death is still grieved in Thailand, and even with me. So he's a person who embodies Vincentian values because he paid so much attention and so much of his time and energy to helping the poor. And in Thailand society, that would be the farmers, those who work hard labor all day long, get very little money. They're in the rural areas of Thailand, away from the cities, and he would take his time and go and visit those people. He would go to get to know them, embody Vincentian personalism. He would go start royal projects using the funding, the huge wealth that the monarchy has, and he would use that to help the farmers. He would use that to help the poor, the marginalized in Thai society, allowing them to make money from everything they did, allowing them to rise up in society, earn a living, and take care of their family as well. And he really paid a lot of attention to this. He saw great value in this, and he dedicated his life to helping the poor in Thai society, trying to create a more equal, a more just Thai society where those who work the hardest can earn a lot of money as well. He also saw the dignity of each individual. He didn't care if you were from the lowest end of the Thai society or the highest end. He didn't care if you were poor or rich. He saw you as a Thai person with dignity, and he upheld that. So whenever he met people, he showed love, he showed empathy, he showed compassion. He saw the person for who they were, not who they represented or who he thought they were. And that's such a key facet of Vincentian ideas, the dignity of each individual. And I think King Bhumibol showed that tremendously. So those are a couple of ways King Bhumibol, to me, is a Vincentian hero. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max. I use they, them pronouns. I am a senior here at DePaul studying psychology and religious studies, and I am the Jewish interfaith scholar. So someone that comes immediately to mind when I think of a Vincentian Jew is my Saba, my grandfather, Ken Bromberg. My Saba died when I was really young, so I don't know a lot about him personally. However, through the stories that I hear from my Savta, my grandmother, my Abba, my dad, and my aunt and uncle, my dad's siblings, I can clearly see Vincentian values in his life and his actions. So my Saba was a rabbi, which means not only was he a religious figure, he was also an educator. He spent most, if not all of his life teaching people about what it means to be Jewish. And he also encouraged hundreds, if not thousands of people to, just live their best lives. He was a mentor in that way. He was always thinking about other people. My Saba offered support to those who were in need, and used his position and his privilege to bolster the voices of those who were not heard all of the time. For many years, there's been a photo hanging in my parents' kitchen of a large group of clergy, all collected by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to work together to reach into each of their individual faith communities and find support for the civil rights movement. So one of the clergy in that picture is actually my Saba. And so that has always been kind of like the proof of that image. That photo has been showing me that he really did spend his life putting himself into a position where he could protect the voices of others, and he could encourage others to come up into their spotlight. One significant aspect of being Jewish is that we realize that though we've been through our fair share of trials and tribulations, we cannot let our pain stop us from fighting. In fact, it's that exact pain and experience, that genetic fear and terror, that tells Jews that we must do everything that we can to make sure that no other people experience that pain. So this is what my grandfather is. This is who my grandfather is, and that is why he is a Vincentian.
Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings be upon you. This is Abdul Malik Ryan. I'm the Muslim chaplain at DePaul, and I'm also honored to work with the Interfaith Scholars. When I think of the key aspects that inspire me about the Vincentian heritage and legacy, I often think of St. Vincent's insight and efforts that there are many people who will respond to invitations to do good, who want to help in situations. So there is great virtue in being the one to extend that invitation and organize those efforts to make sustainable, long-term help for people that need it. At the same time, the other lesson that Vincent stressed, and the Vincentian heritage continues to stress, is that real transformation and real power comes from interpersonal relationships among people from different backgrounds, among people with different strengths and gifts. And when I think of all these things, I think of, in my own tradition, the Inner City Muslim Action Network, IMAN, which operates here in Chicago. It actually started from the work and efforts of some college students and some other mentors and guides and people in the community back in the 1990s, and has grown to be in an organization that inspires people around the country and around the world. But we go back, when we think about what we learned, we go back to those first days, what I learned as a DePaul student going down to work on the South Side, that the relationships that you form are the beginning of the road to real solidarity. Well, we learned that all of us, college students, people in the community, people from the suburbs, none of us are here to save the other, but all of us are here to contribute something, to benefit from each other, and to see each other as people that we have relationships, helping all of us to get closer to God and to get closer to the society that we want to see. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Olivia Adams. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior at DePaul studying psychology and American studies, and I am a spiritualist, non-religious interfaith scholar. So when thinking about a figure that really embodied the Vincentian mission to me, I immediately thought of someone a bit closer to home, a friend of mine named Savannah Buick. Savannah was a DePaul student and a member of the rock climbing community in Chicago, which I am also a part of. She died tragically in 2018 in a climbing accident, but before her death, she really absolutely embodied the Vincentian mission of advocacy and community building within our rock climbing community here and beyond. She was a huge advocate for discussing mental health, specifically eating disorders within the climbing community, which was a conversation that desperately needed to be had. It was an issue that was wrought throughout especially the youth climbing community and competitive climbing community of the state or of the nation and the world. So she started from the ground up discussing her personal experience with gyms, with other climbers, with media outlets, and grew a huge movement to bring this to the attention of the wider climbing community and make sure that these were discussions that were being had and that people felt that they could be open with their own struggles with mental health and eating disorders. And she got involved with several nonprofits, organized fundraising, and was just a huge voice that brought a discussion that was very important to our community. And it was intensely important to me and continues to be today a huge legacy of hers. So I love Savannah and her words and mission, and I try to live them out to this day. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for coming back after that video. What an amazing video. Thank you so much. So, are we all back? There was a few people commenting while we were watching the video. I want to share those comments with the scholars since they weren't able to see them live. Father Memo threw up a comment as well. So this being one of our very first interfaith events this year, thank you all interfaith scholars. And I want to kind of throw it down to Diane. You were the only one that wasn't really on the video, and you're here joining us today. So I wanted to kind of get a quick thought from you. Is there any characters that stand out in your mind that you'd throw on? I know you did not prep that question, so I'm just throwing that at you live. And I know you had a few questions for the scholars too. So any quick ideas of what you would say for a Vincentian character?
You know, I think all of your stories and the Vincentian characters or heroes that you talked about were all just so compelling. And I thought about my own family members, some of those people who would inspire me, whether it was a grandmother or a mother, father. I've thought about some of our political leaders, especially those who've recently passed, John Lewis and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, even though she's not within my faith tradition. But I just think of all of those people who have impacted my life personally and taught me how to be a servant, taught me the word and work of personalism. I think that is so important, and I love just thinking about knowing people and knowing little tidbits about each other and connecting with people. Those things are all really, really important, and I have a long, long list of people that I could talk about. I do have a question, though, and I think this is something, as I listened to your stories, I kept thinking, how did you narrow it down to the person you chose? Because I couldn't. I mean, I've just babbled here for a couple minutes on that. And why is it important for you and for others to actually think about this and find those people in their own lives who have practiced Vincentianism for them?
And I'm going to throw that to kind of everybody at once. Does anyone have a quick, like, oh, it was so easy for me, or actually I really struggled?
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'll say a little something. I can say something small if you want that. So for me, it was just the first thought that came to my brain, especially right now in 2020, we're dealing with a lot of racial discrimination, I think is the word I'm going to use. And so when I thought of a Vincentian Jew, I wanted to pick somebody who's done a lot specifically for the Black and brown community, because I think it's our job, again, as Jews, as people of faith, to be there to support other people. I cannot believe, though, that I did not think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and now I'm kind of mad at myself.
I covered her for you.
Yeah, okay, perfect. She's been covered. She's been covered. So for me, it was kind of quick, but I mean, there are a lot of Jews that show Vincentian values. There's a lot of people of every faith that show Vincentian values, and that's something that we kind of forget about. Is like Vincentianism is a Catholic value, but it's a human value, is what it is.
All right, so for me, it was a bit difficult, like picking somebody in my personal life. So I ended up just picking somebody like more of a historical figure. And again, for us, like our example of how to like act in our everyday life is the prophet. But then we also look at like his companions and the people who followed him, the people that like sat with him all the time. And so initially I was going to pick the second caliph or khalifa, leader of the Muslim world. I was going to pick him because he had like a reputation for justice and for like going out in the streets and like making sure everyone was doing okay and stuff like that. And then I ended up like just by happenstance finding another video about the best friend of the Prophet, Abu Bakr. May God be pleased with him. And it ended up being that like a lot of the stuff that the second Khalifa Umar had like implemented, he had taken from Abu Bakr. And then I was like, why is it that the Prophet had like chosen this man specifically to be his best friend? And then kind of snowballed from there. I started finding all these amazing stories about him. And yeah, that's how I ended up choosing that figure. Yeah.
Some of our live viewers are enjoying what we're saying. I just want to throw that out there. Lillian's RPG.
Right. So why is it important for us as members of the Vincentian community to actually think about these things and to talk about them within our own communities?
Can you repeat that question, Diane?
Pardon me?
Can you repeat that question?
Why is it important for us as members of the Vincentian community, but for you as leaders within this community, to even be thinking about these things and modeling this and sharing this with others and encouraging others to find their own Vincentian heroes? What significance does that have for you and for the larger community?
I can say that like just from like a kind of a sort of superficial standpoint, that like when you just hear about, for example, figures from other traditions, and it's kind of way more distance from you. But then if you talk about like the actual values that they embodied, the way they acted and stuff, and that sort of those sort of descriptions, looking for those kinds of distinctions or those kinds of values that people embody in your own personal life makes it a lot closer to home, and it makes it easier and more accessible to like emulate. You're like, all right, this person does this really well. Let me see if I can, develop this as a good habit. Start, working on this a little bit. When you have someone in your own tradition, at least like just doing this, and you have someone in your own tradition that connects to these values, it's a lot easier to like understand them, connect with them, and it's a lot easier to, emulate them when you have someone to actually hone in on and focus.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I literally agree with all of that. I was going to say it's this idea of like having a role model, because I feel like in each of our faith traditions, we all have our sort of our roles that we have to play of, oh, this is what will make me a good Christian or a good part of this faith tradition. But when you actually see someone out there living that and living their life and living those values as their truth, it makes it a lot easier for you to see how you can then implement it into your own life. So
thank you, Jackie.
And I think it's also like a bridge between different religions, different faiths, because I think for my case, I didn't pick someone who was Catholic, even though I am Catholic. I picked the King of Thailand, and Thailand's a Buddhist country. So just showing that regardless of what religious identity you are, so for King Bhumibol, he was a Buddhist, but then the people of Thailand are not all Buddhist. Yes, it's like 95% Buddhist, but for him to go and care for everyone, like especially the southern part of Thailand is predominantly Muslim, he'd still go there, showing that those Vincentian values aren't like exclusive to like, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I'm going to use these Vincentian values to help Buddhists. No, it's like, I'm going to use it to help everyone regardless of what they believe. So it's more about humanity than it is exclusivity.
And from a Vincentian priest who's watching, Father Campuzano writes, "We can come together around universal human values. Those values are reflected in all traditions in different ways, and in Vincentianism too."
Absolutely.
Right. Maybe one more question, Abdulmalik. Do you want to throw him a question, and we'll see where we are at the end of it?
Sure, and I'll try to, I hope this is not too much, but I'll try to do something that can wrap things together and close it up. So, you know, one of the things we like to stress here in the Interfaith Scholars is to kind of remind people and make people conscious of all the diversity that's present on DePaul's campus. Sometimes we think of maybe the ethnic diversity or racial diversity or geographic diversity of people coming from different places of the world, but we also have a religious and spiritual diversity. And you see here in our gathering that there's people coming from all kinds of faith traditions, people from no faith tradition that come to DePaul. And it's actually always been that way. You know, from DePaul's first charter as a university, it made it clear that it was open to people of all faiths and none, which was the first Catholic university in Illinois to do that. And I think, so I wanted to ask each of you, as people who are coming from these different traditions, how did you first encounter the Vincentian mission or legacy at DePaul? You know, many people don't necessarily know that much about the mission or know that much about the Catholic identity of DePaul before they come here. But usually they're hit with it when they come here. And I want to know, coming from all your different backgrounds, when was the first time that you learned about it? And maybe reflecting now, was it something you could engage with easily, or was it difficult? Or how would you advise that in the future we continue to make sure everyone can engage with the mission regardless of what background they're coming from?
I kind of want to take this one. Can I take this one? So this is actually really good timing for this question, because for me personally, I came to DePaul after my brother came here. So I knew that there was a pretty big Jewish community, and I knew about Matthew. So I felt more like I was going into a school that had a lot of religious diversity as opposed to coming into a Catholic school. But I think it's interesting. I was just having a conversation with my cousin the other week, who they are a junior in high school now. So they're looking at colleges to go to. And we were having a conversation about DePaul and just kind of, would it be the right fit for them? And one question they asked is, they said, yeah, I was looking on the internet and I found out that DePaul is the largest Catholic university in the country. And they go, but the only two people that I know who go to DePaul are two Jews. So it was just interesting that I could have that conversation with them, where I could say, like, yes, we are a Catholic school, but above Catholic, we are a Vincentian school. At least in my opinion. I see Catholic here and I see Vincentian here. And then I kind of describe to them what the Vincentian mission is. And that is what told my cousin that this might be the right fit for them, is that it might be Catholic school. They are not Catholic. They're not Jewish either, but they're not Catholic. And they were definitely nervous about being like a queer person to come into a Catholic school. But I think that to separate kind of Catholicism and Vincentianism, because I think a lot of people can be really intimidated when they find out, oh, DePaul is a Catholic school. Like, I am not Catholic. I'm not going to fit in. But to show that actually the number one value is caring for other people. And like that is what makes it a Vincentian school.
Nice. First encounters with Vincentianism, anyone else?
My first encounter was orientation, sort of. Like orientation, I think we did like an entire tour that was just about like, you know, the Vincentian mission. And then, so even coming into the school and we were getting like tours and we were questioning, you know, which college to go to, it seemed like, believe it or not, the one university that was like exclusively Catholic, like, that was, like, not exclusively as in exclusively, but like that was like, you know, known as the largest Catholic university. It seemed like the best fit for a Muslim when we were like looking at it. And like specifically what caught our eye was the Vincentian mission, when they were talking about all the programs they have to go out and do charity and help in neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. And we're like, wow, the school is like, you know, just making it easier to do all these things that like we value specifically in our religion. Like it's charity is very important, and they're like have all these avenues to do it in however, you know, whatever way you find the best way to do it for you. And the culture on campus is also the culture on campus also reinforces that a lot. So we found that like even though it's a Catholic school, it seemed like the best fit for us. And then it has all these values of charity and doing good works kind of stuff, and so that was really attractive to my family.
I also found out about it at orientation, actually. Being Catholic, I came to DePaul knowing that like it was the largest Catholic university in the country, but I had no idea about the whole Vincentianism behind that. So, because like a few other Catholic schools I looked at were Jesuit, and that was very obvious to me because my parents did Jesuit social work when they were young adults. So coming into DePaul, I just generalized it as, oh, it's Catholic, like it's just Catholic, nothing specific. And then during the Vincentian Heritage Tour at orientation, that's when I was like, oh, this is something else.
Thank you so much, everybody. We have one more comment that just came in, and let me throw it up. It's from Father Campuzano one more time. Catholic means universal. This is why DePaul is all about inclusion, diversity, full respect, recognition, and care for all of those different than us.
Absolutely.
I think that's a pretty good button on what we're doing right now. I want to say thank you so much to the Interfaith Scholars for taking their time, making the video for us, taking the time to for this live stream. We have a lot of interfaith activity coming your way this quarter. We have quarterly interreligious celebrations, and we'll have a lot more of these type situations, I think, coming. Discussions from different faith backgrounds, and lots of new and awesome content coming your way. I don't want to leave too quickly, but anything else to say while we're live? Abdul Malik, Pastor Diane, anything else we'd like to throw out?
Nothing big. Enjoy all. Try to check out the other programs for Vincentian Heritage Week, including Father Memo, who's been here. If you want to hear him at the prayer breakfast on Friday morning at 9 o'clock, please sign into that. Thanks, everyone.
And bless one and all. Thank you, Matt and Abdul Malik, and you wonderful scholars. You are amazing. Thank you.
Shalom, everybody. Happy New Year if you're celebrating a new year. I'll see everyone very soon. Bye, everyone. Shalom.